All right, we are trying this again. Unlike the Sean interview where that had some issues at the beginning because of internet, this time it was my fault because I had audio issues. But welcome, Russ Lyman. Thank you for being on the podcast recording for the evening. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, and to repeat what I said during the recording, the last one. Behind you is Ren and Stimpy poster and like
Yeah, yeah.
plushes that you got from where was it that you said?
Well, so the poster's original, so that's from the 90s when I was watching the show on
Oh,
Nickelodeon.
nice.
So I was happy to bring that in here. And then I happened to be at Dave and Buster's, and you can win prizes with your tickets. And I found the Ren and Stimpy plushes there, and I was like, "Well, I gotta have them so they could go where my poster is."
Well, that's cool to see stuff like that because there's a lot of people that are probably watching this show right now that they grew up with a lot of the old Nickelodeon shows, like from Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life,
Yeah, yeah.
Rugrats. It's like too many to name off, even like some of
Oh, I
the
know it.
modern ones too.
Absolutely. Yeah, we covered a lot of those on my podcast. The weekly Warpipe. We actually just did this past weekend. We did game shows. So we were like
Oh, nice.
Nick Arcade, Legends of the Hidden Temple, Double Dare, like all the fun ones.
Excellent. That's actually one of the ones I was going to ask you about. Since you brought up the topic, your podcast you started around when the pandemic was still going on, and I think it was right around the summer is when you guys were doing that.
Well, we actually just passed our year mark. So we started late March or April or so
Mhm.
because I had a podcast prior to this with my friend Riff from the Pixel Game Squad, and
Oh
he's
yeah,
over in
that's right.
California, so we're at a 3 hour time
Mhm.
difference. So it was hard to coordinate for a while, so we had to nix it. And that's when my friend Jay reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, what do you think about doing a podcast?" And Jay lives in North Carolina, so luckily no time difference, just distance.
Mhm.
Um, so we ended up, jumping on Zoom. We now use StreamYards to do the podcast, record through there. But yeah, we just passed the year mark. We got 53 episodes out. They come out every Saturday at 7 a.m. And we started doing bonus episodes every Wednesday is Warp Pipe Wednesday. So it's like a 15-minute, maybe 20-minute episode. So shorter topics just to have more content out there.
Oh, that's good. So yeah, like you already showed off some of the merch. There we go again.
Yeah,
Oh,
gotta have your
well,
branding.
yeah, hopefully people after watching this go and buy up as many mugs as possible to support their show. But
Absolutely.
yeah, that's cool that there's other podcasts that are out there. I know that Riff and Ricky and there's two other ones. I'm trying to remember their exact names, but they
It
started
should be
doing
I think it's
yeah.
Mort. I think Mort's on there and actually Chris Crone, the owner of Retro Games, because I actually used to
Hmm.
work at Retro Games Plus here in Connecticut because he has 3 stores here in Connecticut and then he opened up 2 in California when he moved out there. So I saw they were all kind of doing a podcast together.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the people that Mort wanted us to get on the show, and I actually was gonna email them back, but I didn't get the chance to. But
Hmm.
yeah, they started doing their podcast, and I know that Mort does his thing. But to differentiate you and Ness Addicts podcasts from everybody else's, like what type of stuff do you usually do to be considered something different as opposed to what they do?
Right. Usually, so it's weekly. Every week we come out with a different topic, and the way I start the show is the weekly Warp Pipe and podcast dedicated to retro video games, 80s and 90s toys, and all things nostalgia.
Oh,
This way you can
nice.
fall into all that. So we even done 90s fashion, talked about like Janko jeans, different types of shirts and stuff you would buy, like the ball necklaces you would wear. Um,
Mm.
so so pretty much anything is open, or like cereal boxes we talked about, McDonald prizes you would get in the Happy Meals. So it's fun. Like basically, we say you're going in the warp pipe and going back and just reliving that nostalgia. So I think it keeps it fun and people coming back to be like, oh, what are they going to reminisce about? This week.
That's the one thing I like to do is find a bunch of different content that's out there and tries to be unique as possible. And I think you work on another series that's called the '90s Were Rad, or is that like a different project?
Oh well, that possibly might be my. Is it a YouTube channel? Because my buddy Andy runs
Yes.
a YouTube channel
Yeah,
called
I
the
think
'90s
so.
Rad,
Yeah,
and he did some
yeah.
cool stuff.
I honestly, for some reason, kept thinking that that was something else that you worked on too. But yeah, I do
I do
apologize.
have three other YouTube channels, but that is not one of them.
It's yeah, it's hard to like keep anything up nowadays because it's just like doing a bunch of different shows. But yeah,
Right,
and that
right.
was the other thing I was gonna ask is as far as some of the more interesting topics that you've had on the show, I would assume that you've had certain topics that you've wanted to do one day, but it was like you had too much to try to cram in to use for like the next little recording, I take it.
Right. Yeah. I keep a running list of topic ideas that we can use for the podcast. And then we have to think like, can we talk, 45 minutes about this topic?
Mhm.
Or would it be better suited for a Warp Pipe Wednesday episode and just do a quick 15-20 minute episode of it? Like we did one this past just talking about cassette tapes, and I showed off a few from my own collection that I used to, collect. It was like, oh, here's MC Hammer on cassette, or the Ninja Turtle soundtrack, and we talked about making mixtapes and recording music off the radio and stuff like that. So it's like
Mhm.
a shorter, condensed topic. Or a lot of people give us suggestions too, so we'll try to keep that on the list. And if we could get to them, we can. And we even let viewers call in. We have like a phone number you can call and leave a voicemail, and it's always fun to hear what they have to say.
That would worry some people who do, especially if it's like a live recording, because it's yeah, especially with like some messages that people might
Right.
leave that you're not sure if it's going to be
It,
offensive
it's
content or not. So that's like,
it's
yeah.
screened. Luckily, it's pre, like I can see what it says, and then I have to download it and upload it to our StreamYard thing to play it. So I already know what it's like. No bad words or whatever.
That's good. At least that is safe from like the whole cancellation thing, because
Absolutely.
that's what we like to do here as well, is just try to pre-screen things, and then after the recording's done, is like, that's a breath of relief or sigh of relief, if you will.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but yeah, since I mentioned about live, I know that you may not particularly have the caller calls on there. Would you be willing to do like a live version of the Warp Pipe, or has that not been something that y'all wanted to do before?
We probably would be able to do it. It's because we usually record pretty late. Because Jay has to put his kids to bed, so we usually end up recording Wednesdays at like 10 o'clock at night. And we do both episodes back to back. This way we have it, and I have time to edit it. But we probably would be able to do, yeah, a live version. We probably should have done something special for our year anniversary, like a live show, but kind of slipped our mind. But yeah, we wouldn't be opposed to it for sure.
Well, since you mentioned that, I know it's a little bit late, but happy 1 year anniversary to your channel.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely
Okay.
check it out. The Weekly Warp Pipe.
All right, you can check them out on YouTube, and I'll give the plug to that at the end of the recording as well. But
Perfect.
since we're talking about recordings, I know that it was so good, like the way that we had it set up for the last one, but
Hmm.
because of audio issues, I wanted to like bring back the tattoos, because I know that you had
Yeah.
showed it on your right arm. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I got some video game tattoos. I'm working on a video game sleeve, so I got a few different characters. Got Mega Man, Batman from NES, so he's purple. And we got a Bomb, an extra life mushroom, and I got Mario right over here.
yeah, and that's the other thing. I thought it was like Batman knocking like hitting a brick wall, but is those Tetris pieces, or is that something
So
else?
the idea behind it was, since it's NES Batman,
Mhm.
these are like pixels, like 8-bit, so they're different pixel palettes of what his color palette is.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. So
Yeah,
that's cool. But
something different.
Okay, and the other thing, wanted to bring that back because you were mentioning about on your wrist. That was
Yes,
related to your band, like the one that was before Saturday Matinee, correct?
correct. Yeah, so back in the day, I had plenty of bands that I was in. So this band that I was in was called the Chaseworth Wild. We're like
Mhm.
emo pop punk, and my bass player had come up with this logo. It's a broken heart with like pins in it. Super emo, and I thought it was looked cool, so I was like, I'll get it tattooed on me. So I have that there, and then just the nautical star, another very pop punk thing to get.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a lot of people I've seen that that have that star tattoo as well, and I
and,
for the
and I
longest,
have I
yeah.
have like on the elbows, I just have regular stars
Oh,
instead of the
nice.
nautical. I just got the outlines.
Well, that's still cool because that's the one thing I like to see a lot is the different type of art pieces that people have on their arms or sometimes on their back and like on their
Right.
heels as well. Does it always seem like that you want to do like a unique style of art or some kind of tattoo that you're passionate about, or is it just something that you're a fan of that you just want to put on there just to show your fandom?
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to any different type of style that the tattoo artist is looking to do. Like, I got most of these are like the Batman, the Mega Man, and the one up mushroom were all done by my friend Joe Murphy of Nerdy Visions. But the last one I got was this Babam here, and
Mhm.
that was done by my buddy Tom Bullman, who was actually on Ink Master. I
Oh,
forget
nice.
which season he was on, but we were friends before that, and we were going to see him, me and my friend Dave, because Tom now does custom shoes. He has a
Oh,
company
wow.
called Bull Airs because his name's Tom Bullman, kind of like Air Jordan
Oh,
Bull
yeah, that
Airs.
makes sense.
So we were going there to pick up some custom shoes, and I was like, "Dude, you got to tattoo me." And he was like, "All right, like you drove all this way, I'll fit it in." So we got the little babam in there, and it looks awesome with the shading and everything. So I was happy that he tattooed me, and I got a pair of custom NES shoes coming in the mail from him. I'm going to be doing a review on my channel, but they look awesome. They got a D-pad on there, and you open the tongue of the shoe, and it says up, down, down, left, right, BA.
Yeah, the Contra code, nice.
That's like cool little Easter eggs. Yeah.
Yeah, were those the same shoes that I seen a few people on Instagram and I think Twitter as well trying to do like a giveaway or something that they were posting up?
Right. So he reached out to a few people. So 8-Bit Eric, the Game Chasers, and a few other people were kind of promoting it because he had pre-sales going up on a certain date. So he wanted to build some hype around it.
I think I missed the boat on getting my pair, but hopefully if they end up putting more up online, I'll definitely try to snag some again.
Nice, nice.
Okay, so back to the topic of your music history, because I know during the previous recording you mentioned how many instruments you were playing, but to repeat what you said, like how many exactly have you actually learned altogether, and how far back does it go for you to be able to play those instruments?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I could play guitar, bass, drums, and sing. But my first instrument was a guitar. I got into it because my buddy got a guitar for his birthday or Christmas or something, and I was like, "Well, I want to get a guitar too."
Mhm.
But then I couldn't afford lessons, so he was going to guitar lessons, and then he would kind of take what he learned there and show it to me. So I would kind of learn off of him. And it said this is prior to YouTube, so there was no let me look up a tutorial video on how to play this song. It was either reading the tabs out of a music magazine or
Mhm.
maybe getting a VHS tape of how to play guitar.
Yeah, talk about old school is like VHS tapes and then looking at paper sheets of being able to play notes and stuff. Um yeah, and that was the other thing that you mentioned there was like 3 bands altogether that you were a part of, or was it just only the 2 that you were?
There was quite a few. Like the first band ever that we had started. So me and my friend were playing guitar,
Mhm.
and we didn't want to have two guitarists, and you got to have some rhythm section. So I ended up getting parts of a drum kit. So that kind of started one band, and I was kind of learning how to play the drums with that. But like my first band that I would call as a band, we were actually called Service with a Smile. It was just a three-piece like punk band. We did it. We actually only played, I think, like one show. We recorded a CD, never really played out. It was like a backyard show,
Hmm.
and then the band with the tattoo here, A Chaser with Wild, started, and that was for a good few years until Saturday Matinee, which I have a tattoo here. Our album was called Kings of This Year,
Oh,
and
nice.
we went on tour, and when we got back from tour, we actually all got the crown tattoo. That was like our logo on the CD. And we were late to our CD release party. They're like, "Where are you?" And we're like, "We're at the tattoo shop getting tattooed." We're like, "We'll be right there."
Yeah, because that was the thing in your game room that you actually had some band memorabilia that was put up there, and I think in
Yes.
one of them that was like Friday Matinee, and then it was I think that was the debut soundtrack that you guys put out.
Yeah, it had had this. This was on the CD cover. So
Okay.
Kings of This Year was a full length album. So I think it had 14 songs on it, and I put like our album cover of the CD, and then like the back of the press photo or whatever. And that was super fun to record. And I said we did a very short tour. Just to see the United States. Went out with a van and a trailer, and got to sleep in the van and have the band life again. But
Yeah,
it
I
was
can
super
imagine.
fun. We actually fun fact, you get to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if you bring your band CD. Like you guys get to go in for free.
Oh, wow,
So like
that's
so you
incredible.
like donate it to them, and then you could go. And when we had went there, I think we just missed it by like 2 days. Paramore had like just played there, and I was like, oh man, that would have been
Oh,
awesome.
nice. I didn't know that they actually did that because I'm in Ohio right now, but yeah, I've only been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame little building once.
Mhm.
But that's cool that they actually do that. Is it for any band or is it just like doesn't really matter which one?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you got a CD, I mean, they didn't question us or what. It was us and our photographer, and we didn't have to pay to get in. We're like, "Here's our CD." Like, we showed them the picture on the back, and they were like, "Okay." I think they had a box. You like drop it in. And it's like enjoy.
Makes me wonder if there's been any time that people have actually made not necessarily a parody, but some kind of like Photoshop edit, and then they just plaster on like those sticker covers for CDs and just like say
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we're a part of a band. That way, people don't. Actually, people that are listening don't do that. Support your
yeah.
museums and just
That's it.
keep the doors open for those. Okay, so I know that I asked about this already, but because of the re-recording, as far as like all of the instruments that you have done,
Mhm.
vocals, that's like its own separate thing because that's doing with like vocal cords and all that.
Yeah.
But guitar, bass, or drums, which of those three would you say would probably be the hardest one to be able to master?
Like I said, I started on guitar, so going to bass was a natural transition because you're just basically playing the rhythm part, the one string. So
Hmm.
it's fairly easy. But doing the drums, it's a whole nother thing because you have all your limbs doing different things where you got one playing the hi-hat, then on a
Oh
different beat
yeah.
you're hitting the snare, then you got to hit the bass drum with your other hand while not doing this, like keeping this going at a certain tempo. Really takes a lot of coordination.
Yeah, it's very quadruple multitask, or however you like want to pronounce it, because that's a
Right.
lot of things to try to memorize because you have like pedals that you're trying to step on, and then
Mhm.
if you need like hit a cymbal or like a snare, because that was the thing. Like back in school, I know a lot of bands used to, or not bands, like school bands because a lot of
Okay,
them
the
only knew at
percussionist.
yeah just to do snare drum and then sometimes they would have like something extra on top but yeah
Right, right. You're just playing the one snare, learning your beats.
and then time it correctly with like the saxophone or the tuba or whatever instruments are there but yeah that's cool to be able to see some people that are not just doing only one type of music instrument but being able to do a bunch of different stuff and since you mentioned about being able to do all of that if you decide to do some kind of like music based on video games like you could probably be exactly like Lil V if you wanted to.
Right. I'm definitely want to try to dabble into. creating some music in the future. Maybe looking into some programs that can maybe do like a drum machine now. Like when
Mhm.
we were recording back then, it's definitely different from now. It's so much more access to programs that could help you along with it. You could get a little, machine that does drums that you could just program a beat into. But yeah, that'd be awesome to do some maybe like lo-fi video game music, like with cool beats.
Yeah, there's some cool bands or actually just like singular musicians that I think it's Button Masher or whatever the musician's name is, but he does video game music as well. And then there's a
Hmm.
an African American artist that does the exact same thing too, but his is more like him playing the bass a lot, and
Okay.
it sounds smooth.
Bass driven.
I cannot remember what his name is, but my buddy Louis told me about that. So since we got done talking about music, and since we're on the topic still about video games, your game room, if you will, and you
Yeah.
only showed the Jason Voorhees pillow that was there on the
Oh, right,
couch,
right.
and about like your daughter as well having to sit on something that creepy. Does she get weirded out by something like that, or is it just
Well,
not bother her?
yeah, I mean, well, she's like laying on it with her back to it, so it's not like she's like face down on it. But she was, on my lap, kind of looking at it, and I think, she's only 3 months, so maybe the bright colors are just something she could be drawn to. And I mean, she has no comparison to be like, oh, this is Jason, he murders people in horror movies. This is he's a soft pillow, he has bright colors, he looks fun. That's probably all she knows.
Yeah, and I think the opposite side of the pillow was
Right.
the first Jason, or not first Jason. That was
It might
yeah.
be 3. I forget when he gets the crack in the hockey mask. I
Oh,
think it might
it's
be.
yeah. I want
I
to
think it's 3,
say yeah, the
3 or 4.
four, and then there's also Jason Goes to Hell, but Jason Goes to Hell is like it's really disfigured now.
But yeah, I thought this was a fun pillow that someone sent me to do like a fun review because I've kind of known on YouTube for my NES Jason cosplay. I feel like I was one of the earlier persons to make like a tutorial video on there, and so many
Hmm.
people had messaged me like, "Oh, we saw your tutorial video and we made our own costume." And now I said, yeah, they got like the NECA figure that's like purple Jason, and they got Funko Pops. So he's definitely like my thing. And I was scheduled to get a NES Jason tattoo. We were doing a live stream at a game convention, and I like promoted it and everything. And then there was confusion, and the game convention thought the tattoo artist was getting like insurance, and the tattoo artist thought the game convention was getting insurance, and no one got insurance. So he
Oh
did
wow.
two tattoos and then had to shut it down. So I wasn't able to get my tattoo, and then months had passed, and then I ended up settling on getting the NES Batman for now. But I do want to add an NES Jason somewhere. I'm gonna have a lot of purple, I think, on this arm, but like Mega Man him. So we might have to put him in the back somewhere or something like that. But I do want to get a NES Jason. Maybe just the mask then.
Actually, that wouldn't be that bad of an idea. Or else the what is it? The pixel art body for Jason, because I know that in the
Right.
NES game, it's when you're facing off against him that he looks kind of big and imposing.
Yes, that was kind of what we were gonna go with, like that pixel sprite almost, where he's straight up and almost like the Mike Tyson Punch Out like area.
Okay, now since you mentioned about the pillow and that somebody sent you that as a review, do you happen to know the exact name of the company that made that pillow?
Yeah, it's on the tag here, so it's Pillow Pops, like a ice pop or whatever.
Oh, nice.
Pillow Pop on Instagram. You can look them up, and they have all different other ones, not just the Jason one, but I think they're all like reversible too.
Oh,
Um,
excellent.
but But yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll definitely do like a cool video in my Jason cosplay. And I did one. I also ended up doing a NES Freddy cosplay because Freddy's in like orange instead of the red and green sweater and
Yeah.
pants. He's got orange pants and orange and brown sweater for whatever reason in Nintendo. So I did a fun video with Freddy coming in and Jason sleeping on his pillow. And he's like, haha, welcome to my nightmare,
That's actually cool to see that some of the YouTubers in the community do basically cosplays, because I know the only other one that I know of that does one is John Riggs, and he has like one of the best Dr. Robotnik or
Right.
Eggman or whatever like new name he comes up with now. But yeah, for his Dr. Robotnik cosplay, it's really good. And I just think it's funny that he has to hold up the mustache, and it just kind of looks like he's twirling the mustache a bit, like
Right,
he
he holds
says
it like
sinister.
this, like next to it. It's like, ha ha, and it works so well. I mean, I guess it would just get in the way of whatever while he's cosplaying. So he's like, I'll just walk around with it.
I gotta ask him about that next time we get him back on the show. But since you mentioned about costumes, like, is there any other characters that you want to do, or is it mainly just based on horror themed video games?
Well, I have done Casey Jones from like Ninja Turtles, and I
Hmm.
went with the action figure counterpart. So he has like sweatpants on, and he has like a big shoulder pad, and I made all my weapons like blue. That's how they came like with the action figure.
Oh
So I
yeah,
have
that's
done
right.
that. And then in the works, eventually, I want to do the NES Batman. It's based off of Michael Keaton Batman. Just his suit will be like teal and purple. So that'll be like down the road because I've found a company that will print the suit like in that color, but it's so pricey that I can't justify spending that much money
Yeah,
on the cosplay. Like,
yeah, custom orders like that, and yeah, it's expensive to do anything cosplay, especially if you want to like do it as intricate or however you
Mhm.
pronounce it as possible to
Right,
make
right.
it
With
stand
the
out.
with the with the Jason one wasn't too bad in my tutorial. Basically, I bought, a pair of like white overalls and then purple RIT dye. That's the
Mhm.
company, RIT, and then just dyed them purple, and then it's just like painting a mask. So it was probably like, under $50.
Well, we'll hopefully be able to see the next ones you come up with too. But back on the collection, because there was some things in the last game room video. Because I remember that in your 2022 one, that
Hmm.
I don't know if it's like changed up a whole lot since then, but there were a couple of things that I wanted to ask you about. And the first one, it's at the very beginning of the video, and you may know what I'm talking about because it's I want to say it's like on the left side of you. But
Okay.
there's a video camera that's at the very top. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
Like one
so
of the old school ones.
yeah, the very old VHS tape, or maybe it's like a film reel one. But eh, what's the history behind that? Is there a reason why you have that?
That one I honestly picked up at like a Goodwill. I had seen
Okay.
it there and I was like, this looks dope. Like when I was in high school, I was in the AV club
Mhm.
and we used cameras like that took full VHS tapes and you were able to like rent it out for the weekend. And I would always make, silly videos with my friends and stuff like that. And when I finally graduated high school, my mom bought me a camera, which I still do have. It's not that style. It was like a handy camera where you would put your hand in and the lens was attached to it
Hmm.
and the whole back of the camera was a screen instead of having to look through that viewfinder. So I thought it was pretty innovative for like that time. But that old school, I love like Back to the
Hmm.
Future. He had like a camera like that, so it's just nostalgic like purposes and looks good as a decoration.
Yeah, especially for April O'Neil. But yeah, I think that was like a bit more bigger because in the cartoon, I think it was like a bit more huge or something like that. But it's been a long time since I remember watching the episodes. But yeah, that was one of the things that I remember seeing because there's like, of course, there's the Nintendo Power magazines and like, some of the other figurines that you have there, but it's those type of pieces that people have in their collections to differentiate themselves as opposed to like what other people have, or it's just only video games. But
Right.
yeah, that was that one, and then the other thing which you did recently, I believe, was on your logo where you got it as not necessarily a box light, but it was like a steel
Right.
little metal type of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was the thing. It was I believe you mentioned their name was Turbo Inc. or was it like Turbo Link?
Now I'm trying to remember. Yeah, the company that I got it from. I want to say it was something Turtle though.
Oh,
I,
okay.
I wonder if I can look up on my Instagram. But it basically was I have my logo of my face with my Mario hat and my beard and glasses, and he made a full size of that would light up. It's like, almost like a light box, like you said.
Mhm.
You could display it as regular, but when you hit the light, it shines. And what's funny is he ended up when he was making the logo for me, he kind of messed up and put it so my hat was facing the other way. It was like a mirror image,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, oh, and he's like, oh, I can sell you this one at a cheaper rate because I'll remake the right one. He's like, and what am I going to do with this? So I ended up getting two of them. So one hat facing one way, one hat facing the other. So it's Mr. Turtle Inc. is that's the guy on Instagram
Okay,
there, and
there
he
we
does
go.
all sorts of science. He's got Ninja Turtles, Jurassic Park. He does Nintendo, Ghostbusters. And I doubt it. If let's see if we scroll farther back enough, you'll see my picture on there. See if we can find it. But
Oh yeah, I see the Mario one that they went by.
yeah, my friend got one of those as well. They're great work, like fantastic,
Oh,
and good quality and everything. I was like, oh yeah, here it is. So there's double me.
that is incredible, man.
So I still have one. I said, well, I could probably always sell one if someone, it could almost be a generic. If you have glasses and a beard, maybe that looks like you. So this one is my logo, how it's supposed to be, and then that's the one that I was like, no, my hat's supposed to face the opposite way. So I picked both of them up.
Yeah, that always confused me whenever I was looking at that, and I always thought it was like the opposite way, but I tend to like not look at the logos that often. Okay, so aside from that, I have a few things that I wrote down for like notes on it, but the uh the collection itself. Now, I would assume that with like a size that you have for like the amount of things that you own personally,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
being able to organize and just try to restructure it to benefit for just a matter of space and also for things of interest. Does it seem like it gets hard at times to be able to put things in as opposed to like just a matter of space, or are you not usually worried about things like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, especially with the video that I had showed was my old game room that was in the basement at my mom's house. So
Mhm.
you have the full basement, lots of room there. And me and my wife had just gotten this condo. So now where I am now, it's basically the size of a regular bedroom. So significantly smaller, so I can't have as much stuff on display. Certain things had to stay at my mom's or in boxes. So we're
Mhm.
still working on here. I did a 3-part video on my channel of me making this room into the current game room, and we did pretty good with the size here, fitting everything in, making it cozy, and having cool stuff on display. One last thing, I think we're going to be building a bookcase off to my right here against the wall, so I can bring over some of those NES games, Super Nintendo games, and have those on display.
Mentioning about like the game room stuff again,
Yeah.
as oh crap, I had to turn my volume down because this is going to be a part of the recording, so don't worry about that. So yeah, your collection. Any interesting pieces? Because I know one of the things that you had in there, which I thought was cool, was like one of the old. I don't think it was like a Nintendo Power pendant, but it was the one for Super Mario Brothers, and it had like a light pink background to it. I think.
Yeah, I want to say I did get one that was a belt buckle that had Mario on it, and then yeah, I'm trying to think of my Nintendo Power pins that I had. I had I'm pretty sure I had one with the that you would have sent away. If you had the subscription with like it's hard to describe. I don't know, little flags or something like that on there that just
Oh yeah.
it says Nintendo Power on it. So that one stands out. I mean, it's such a small piece. Something else that I had brought over, I got hanging on the wall is awesome. It's a pennant. It's a flag like pennant
Mhm.
from the Super Mario Brothers on Ice Capades.
Oh yeah, that's the one that I was talking about because I know I saw that in
Yes.
the video, and the only other time that I've seen somebody have that exact one, I
Mm.
believe, was Scott Squatch, because he had it
Oh, nice.
at the flea market, and it was like in his shadow box because I know Joey had it at his booth, but that was like the only
Yeah.
other time I remember seeing that before.
You want me to pull it off so you guys can see it?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Here, hang on.
I'll keep the people distracted for a minute, but yeah, there was it was that thing that they had it at their flea market, and I remember seeing stuff like that before. But that's cool that that stuff exists and that not a lot of people own those. There it is. All right, excellent. Yeah, it's kind of like a hot pink by the looks of
Right.
it.
When you said pink, I was like, a pin? Like, da, da, da. But yeah, it's like literally almost a hot pink color. And some of the characters like are looking like so wild. Like that's a Goomba. Like, what is that? The Shy Guy's so squiggly looking.
Yeah, that
But
Goomba needs to eat like a burger or something because he doesn't have a lot of pounds on him.
so yeah, 1989.
Yeah,
This was coming out, and I got this when I went to see the show. They came to New Haven Coliseum in
wow.
Connecticut. So this is saved from my childhood. And just recently, I ended up winning off of eBay. Had to get it. I got the Ice Capades watch right here.
Oh wow, that is awesome.
So I
There you
figured,
go.
let's go.
Hey, and it's purple and light blue. You could technically wear that with your Jason Voorhees cosplay if you wanted to.
Right, right. Check the time.
Yeah, check the time, and it's like, would you look at that? It's killing time.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta see if somebody has that for sale because that would be cool to be able to have something like that.
Yeah, I've never seen him at any conventions. You could get him on eBay, of course, but I've never seen him at any game conventions.
I want to see if Scott still has that one, but he probably got rid of it a long time ago. Yeah, Ice Capades.
Honestly. Yeah. Who
That's
would have
one of the coolest video game items out there right now that I'd love to get.
thought?
Excellent. So, I guess the only other thing I was going to ask about, since you mentioned about the pins, has there ever been times that you found pins that you were interested to pick up, or is it just like anything that looks cool that you would like to actually have in your game room cave? If you
Right. I picked up a cool like Samus promotional pin like for Nintendo Power
Mhm.
that someone had, and I thought that was neat. And when we were out game hunting, me and my friend David Apuzzo came across this awesome Mario like pin display. Like it was an old school display you would have like near the register where you were like, "Oh, I want a Mario pin," and he bought like the whole display. Like the backing of it was Mario, and then the pins
oh
were
wow,
attached to that. So I think he sold some of the pins on whatnot when he was using that as a platform to sell stuff, and I think I took two of the pins from him and just put them in my pin board on display. But cool
oh
old
nice,
stuff like that. I like the early Mario art that's kind of like wacky, weird from like Mario 2-ish eras or the Mario Super Show. And you're like, this
yeah.
is so strange. Like, why does he look like this?
Yeah, still trying to establish like how he's supposed to look, and then finally
Right.
just like sticking with the red and the white and a bit of the as well. Let's now switch things up, and that's cool that your collection is as awesomely spread out as it is, because I know that some people always like to do mostly the video game room, but if there's
Mhm.
like some interesting stuff that they have like kind of just around that a lot of people don't really own, that stuff kind of attracts me, like even just video game jackets, and it's always cool to be able to see that stuff.
Yeah, I picked up a few cool new like video game jackets. We were talking about my friend Tom Bowman,
Mhm.
that did the tattoo. And custom shoes. He also does jackets. So I have a Doom jacket that looks awesome. It's like a windbreaker,
Oh
and
nice.
and he did a Nintendo style jacket. It's like a blue bomber jacket. It says Nintendo across the chest here, and on the back it's Mario from like Mario 3. But what he did was instead of Mario with like the Tanuki ears and tail, because the company is called Bull Airs, it's Mario with like bull horns and
Oh,
like a
nice.
bull tail.
Custom made design. I like seeing stuff like
Yeah.
that.
So those are fun and unique. Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we've went this long without talking about your show or your just channel and branding altogether. I know that we talked about the
Mm.
weekly war pipe,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, your content, because there's a lot of stuff you do on your channel, and it's not just pickups or just like
Right.
talking about a particular game. You do some of the more unique stuff, and I know that people like John Riggs, they usually do video game like what is it, ROM hacks and some other stuff
Mhm.
too. But with you specifically, you do console mods and just like other stuff too on the side. So for everybody that is watching, like when you started back, your channel was started around 2009. But I want to
Mhm.
say that you started making videos like maybe around Gamester 81 era, or did you start
Oh yeah.
somewhere a little bit later in life?
No, I'd say that's probably about right. I was watching, him early AVGN, Sasquatch came on Game Chasers. So I was watching all these retro game people. Retro Liberty came out and they were doing their game hunting stuff. And I was into retro games too, and I also was into DIY, so I had always enjoyed being artistic. So a lot of my early videos I'm doing like Mario props, or I made a shifter knob out of a Mario tin, like a one up tin for my car.
Oh,
And a bunch
nice.
of people like that video. And then, like you said, I did the cosplay DIY video on the Jason.
Hmm.
But probably the biggest thing, maybe people haven't seen, but I drive a Mario Kart car.
I do want to get to that in just a little bit too, because that's like a whole crazy category that I wanted to talk about. But as speaking of your channel, which this is like a huge milestone and it didn't happen that long ago, but first off, congratulations for reaching 20,000 subs. That's like a big milestone for a lot of people to accomplish online, especially if it's like over 1,000 subs. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
and it wasn't just that. I had to double check as far as like video views. You've hit like over 26 million total. Like
Yeah.
was there a particular reason why you were able to get that many, or was it just like from one like video that got viral?
Well, a little bit of both, yeah. And like you said, I started my channel back in 2009, so I've been on YouTube for like ever. So it took me probably 11 years to get past 10,000 subs. So I finally reached that, and I was like, okay, good. And a few of my videos have done very well. I had the Jason DIY video
Mhm.
had like a couple 100,000 views, and then that shifter video that I put up like very early on did very well. But other than that, a lot of I'll do game hunting videos. They'll get like 500 views, 1,000 views, maybe. Like not a whole lot. It's usually the DIY videos. And very recently, I had seen someone take a Wii wheel and use it as their actual steering wheel on their car. And I was like, that's pretty dope. Like, I drive a Mario Kart car. I was trying to make the same thing. Like, let me get the Mario Kart wheel. And I made a bunch of those videos reformatting it, like
Mhm.
showing me making it, or just doing a short one of me putting it on and driving. And I posted those in August of last year. And a few months ago, whatever happened with the algorithm came back around and those videos shot up. So one of them went over 3.5 million views, another one went over a million
Holy
views. So I
crap.
have five of them over a million views, and that gained me another like 12,000 subscribers. So that passed me over 20. Now I'm at, I think,
Mhm.
27,000 subscribers. Like I'm gaining so many subscribers off of these short videos, the 15-second videos, rather than my long form content. So that seems to have a bigger reach. And then, yeah, then it shows like, okay, this is how many minutes or whatever watch time you have. And I was like, holy crap, like that much? Like,
Well, that's cool to see that, and I know that some people are changing up the way that they're making videos nowadays on YouTube and doing things differently than what other people are. Does it seem like sometimes it gets hard for you to be able to figure out what you want to make, or does it feel like it comes natural for you to be able to make anything that you want to do?
Like DIY project wise, you
Or
mean?
just like not necessarily DIY, but just
Hmm.
like different kinds. Like if you wanted to switch it up to do like a convention video, or just go on to
Gotcha.
do like a thought piece. Like I know Pac-Man Case did one recently, and big shout out to Andy for that.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, having my channel, so it's like I always go back and forth with this. My channel's just my name, so it's Russ Lyman. A lot of
Hmm.
people confuse it because it looks like Russ Lee Man because how my name's spelled. So it's just my name. So like I could basically put whatever on there. If I want to do a pickup video, I could do that. A DIY video. It's not designated like this is exactly what I'm doing. So I don't know if that helps or hurt the channel, but since I'm not so niche down to like this is what I'm only doing. But I have never been like shy of like, all right, this week I'm going to a game convention, let's shoot a video, and
Mhm.
then the week after I'm working on my car and here's a vlog video me doing that.
Now, since we're talking more about the car itself, and this is one that I thought was interesting because I don't ever see anybody that I know of doing
Mhm.
videos about a car mod just in itself. It honestly reminded me of something off of like for those like 2000 babies who know of the show Pimp My Ride with Exhibit. Like that's something crazy that you would have seen on that show because the person
Right.
was a fan of Nintendo. So
Right.
what was the crazy obsession with you wanting to just have your own Mario Kart car off of like a Scion XA? I mean
Yeah,
that it's like a lot of determination to make something like that. I take it.
for sure, for sure. And yeah, it also kind of started with like watching the early Fast and Furious movie. That movie came out and they showcased a lot of like these modified Hondas and
Hmm.
cars. And I was like, that looks cool. Like, I want to do that. And at that time, Scion was an up and coming new brand, and they were actually showing commercials at the movies. Like, I would
Hmm.
see the car commercial, and they were all about like making your own, like stand out. And I had never owned a new car, and I was thinking about getting a new car, and they were relatively cheap. So I bought the Scion XA brand new in 2006. Couldn't even drive it home because it was standard. I wanted to get standard, so my
Oh yeah.
friend had to drive it home and then show me how to drive standard. But then I started going to these car shows, and there was a nationwide car club called Psychotics, all
Hmm.
Scions across the nation. And there was like forums and what people were doing to their cars. And I thought it was cool. And at these car shows, people were putting like Xbox systems, PS2s in their car. And I was like, no one does like old school NES. I think that would be cool. And I found a way to hook up an old school NES to like your car stereo, so you have this screen so you could play Mario Brothers. And then I kind of evolved from there. I was like, well, I got to put something on the outside to tie the theme together, and I had just put Mario throwing a fireball down the side that I had found the graphic on like Google. And it stayed that way for quite some time until I met up with an artist friend from going to these conventions, and he did like a redesign for me, which was Mario throwing fire down the front and Luigi throwing ice down the back of the car. And we painted the car to match the Nintendo system. So it was like light gray on top, dark gray on bottom. And it was only like that for like 4 months until I got into an accident and hit some ice and the car was totaled.
Maybe
So,
Luigi caused that or something. I don't know.
right, right. So I was safe. No one else was hurt.
Mhm.
And I knew I still wanted to do the Mario Kart thing. So luckily, insurance covered it. And I bought the same exact car and I started over. And I have a full like vlog series, or I just made like a short 30-minute video if you guys are curious of me building the car. But it shows me buying the car and then getting it to where it is today. And now the car's red, white, and blue with yellow wheels like Mario's car in the game. And then I done up the inside a little bit. And on top of the car, I do have a blue shell cargo carrier. So it opens up. You can put your spare tire or whatever you want in there, but it has spikes and wings, and it looks awesome. And you don't want to see me in your rearview mirror.
Yeah, because nobody needs to be in front of somebody who has a blue shell ready to just be launched at someone, because that would cause a lot of traffic jam if that were to
Oh
land.
yes.
So, I guess the only other thing I was going to ask about that, because there's got to be a rough estimate, like not just money, but like the amount of time that you have put into it. Like, what would you
Right.
say total amount of work hours that went into just the design of it from the outside in, and just the refurbishment of, like, if there was like a new transmission that needed to be put into it?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, starting with like the first car was from 2006 and slowly working on that. When I had gotten the new car, it was a 2005, but I bought it, used or whatever.
Mhm.
Since I had already done it prior, it was such a shorter time frame because I knew how to do it. My skills have improved, and I knew so doing that car like the second time probably only took me it was a few months, not many hours. But prior to that, I probably sunk 500-600 hours of work time into learning how to
Jeez.
fiberglass, learning how to paint, how this goes on, ordering these parts, and going on the forums and okay, how do you install this part? And people are super helpful, luckily, with the car community, and telling you where to go or what things to purchase or whatever. But yeah, if I had to pay for the work, would have been so much. So thank God I'm only paying for parts and then doing it myself, so it doesn't cost as much.
Yeah, because there's been some additions that you put into it recently. It was like the last video, because you were putting in new gauges on the side, and then there was like some, I think it was like amp power that you were putting in for where the front seat was, or there was like something else that you were
Yeah,
putting
so
in.
we were kind of making a hub of all like the electronic stuff I was adding. So
Mhm.
this way, everything was sorted there. So my Super Nintendo is powered by there. The lights on the under the car, like the underglow lights, are powered from there. The gauges we put on are powered from there. And we ended up. I just installed the next video coming. I got a glass radiator hose that lights up. So
Mhm.
the name of the company is called Killer Glass, and so it lights up red,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
it's see through.
It's like
So
molten lava going through there.
yeah, let's see. I did like a video. You almost see like it's like the heart of the car essentially
Oh,
because it
that
kind of
is
bubbles
cool.
bubbles and stuff too, and
Oh,
you could
it
see
does
like
bubble.
yeah.
It's like Metroid.
It's such a cool feature, and not a lot of people have ever seen this. It's a glass radiator hose that's see
Wow.
through, and so it's pretty unique. So that video is coming out next because I put that in there. So when you bring it to car shows, we can show it off. And I just did like a little cold air intake, and I did a poll on my YouTube channel: should I get a blue filter or should I get a red one? So the poll won, so I bought red.
Maybe the reason why they picked the red is that it reminds people of Metroid Prime, because that's like the thing you see at the very beginning of like the title screen. But
Oh,
that's,
true,
yeah,
true.
that's actually really cool. I have never seen vehicles ever have something like that before.
Yeah, the company again, Killer Glass, and they do it for like motorcycles. And what's cool is Toyota. So Scion's owned by Toyota.
Mhm.
Their radiator fluid is red, so
Oh,
it kind of fits
nice.
with the theme. Yeah, so I was like, oh, perfect. Otherwise, if you have put the green in there, it could kind of look like toxic waste.
Or Slimer Sploot. Well, actually, no, we're not
Ecto
gonna make fun
cooler.
of it. Yeah, Acto Cooler's a better term. Forget what I just said about the other thing. Okay, so I guess the only thing I wanted to ask, I know that you have worked on two, but if you were to like start over and make like a third one, if you will, like what would that project idea look like for some people to look to?
Yeah, I mean, it's you break down the theme of kind of like what design you want to go for, graphic wise. Maybe you're going to look for a certain shape in your car. I
Mhm.
felt like the Scion XA being a hatchback kind of has that kart feel already.
Oh yeah.
that it would work with it rather than it being like a sedan or something like that. If I would do a third one now, I'd probably end up getting a van and doing the Mario's plumber van that you've seen in the movie
Yeah,
in their
that's
movie.
awesome. Yeah, because
So
it's kind of cool that they did that for the red carpet thing. Because it was, what was it? Charlie Day, Chris Pratt, and I think maybe there was Jack Black as well. Because like I know they
okay.
pulled in and wrote in that.
I know they had it on display at on Nintendo of New York too when I think it was Mario Day when it was March 10th.
So yeah, maybe that'll be something that you'll work on next, and yeah, probably see that in the next 10 years or whenever you decide to do something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I'll get the dad minivan. We'll turn it into the Mario van.
There we go. We got a video coming in for that. All right, so I guess the only other thing I was going to do now, since we're actually close to the very end of the recording, and there's a little segment that we like to call the 5 count, and this is our little show that we let the person we're interviewing pick 5 content creators, whether they're on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, MySpace.com, if that's even a thing anymore. I don't know, but basically pick 5 of those content creators for people to check out, and feel free to name off some that you want people to get recommended to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first for foremost, my buddy Jay, NES Addict, who does the podcast with me. He still has his YouTube channel up, and he has a dope series called Nintendo Oddities, where he gets things almost similar to like this pennant here, and he
Mhm.
talks about all the old school Mario memorabilia. There's like a shower head that he did an awesome video on. There's a Dixie Cups like dispenser that had Mario Dixie cups, cool
Oh,
stuff like
nice.
that. So it's a fun series. So NES Addict, definitely check him out. And then if you're into like gaming couples, my friend Tom and Lacey over at Do You Nerd are fantastic. They've been on YouTube forever, and they go to the like Renaissance Fair, gaming conventions, pick up videos. Super fun couple, always supportive of all my stuff. So definitely give them a check out. And then my buddies Retro Gaming Pandemic, Eric
Yes,
and Jarrett. I
great
met them
guys.
a few years ago, and they're super fun. And we got like a chat going on my phone, so I'm always talking to them. And they do game hunting videos as well, and everything with retro. So they're super fun to watch. I know Jarrett's having a blast. He's editing for my other buddy. Check out Pixel Game Squad.
There we go. Transitional shout out.
Yeah, so me and Riff have been buddies for quite some time, and I should be seeing them. I'm flying out later in October to go to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. So
Oh,
we should be
nice.
meeting. I should be meeting up with him, John Riggs, and the whole West crew there. So it should be a good time. And then nothing to do with any retro games or anything, but a show I watch is Odin Makes, and he does cosplay like props out
Oh,
of
nice.
foam, and they're like fantastic. And I haven't made any of the props. I just enjoy watching the process. And he does stuff from like Marvel's movies or video game stuff. He's done like the Buster Sword out of foam. So really cool stuff Odin makes. Definitely check him out.
Odin makes interesting. Yeah, that's some cool
Yeah.
stuff because I know that making items like that to use at conventions that's made purely out of foam is
Hmm.
really cool to be able to see that. So yeah, I'll definitely have to check those out because the previous 4 I knew the like every single one of those channels and they're all great. So those were top-notch picks, but this was a pleasure to get you on, and I am happy to say that we were able to do it at exactly 1 hour. So that's, I think, a first for
Perfect.
the channel. But Russ Lyman, thank you for being on the show. This was a incredible blast to be able to get this out of the way without having to re-record it again. So I'm glad.
Absolutely. Great to be here. Glad I could jump on. Yeah, if you guys want to check it out again, my name's Russ Lyman, Lyman. You could subscribe to that, and then the other channels, the weekly Warp Pipe, or you could just listen on like Spotify, iTunes, any of that. Every Saturday we got new episodes. So yeah.
Yeah, and there's one other thing for anybody that wants to also follow him over on Twitter at Russ Lyman 1. And I know that you had another Twitter account before, but I think
Right, got
you, yeah,
hacked.
yeah, that I remember
It was
happening.
it was Russ Lyman, and then whatever got hacked, and I couldn't get it back. I went back and forth against Twitter, and I was like, fine, I'll just make a new one and be Russ Lyman 1.
Yeah, because you're the only one Russ Lyman that people know of in this community. But once
That's
again,
it.
he pretty much already shouted out his work. Definitely follow him over on YouTube at youtube.com/Russ Lyman, and also The Warp Pipe. Same little
Yes.
setup as well. But yes, definitely thank you for coming in on for the show. It was a pleasure to have you on, and we'll hopefully be able to get you back on again.
Perfect. Sounds good.